There's so much to take in, and I don't want to break that moment just yet. I want us to feel that. I want us to absorb the energy. When I drove in this morning, there was a dove sitting on the very tip top of the building here. And the clouds were surrounded by that. The mountains were surrounded by the low-hanging clouds. And Sonia began our meditation by giving us a scent of gratitude and carried us into the silence. And in that silence, we were reminded of all the things that we could be grateful for. And Reverend Ann gave us a beautiful reading this morning that talked about the one. And then we settled into that energy of the oneness and the holiness. The Science of Mind magazine this month says the theme is all is holy now. And the message for today is we are one. And everything that was presented today was about that holiness, that sacredness, that idea of the divine resonating, bringing forth this essence that we call life. It is the very presence of each and every one of us and all that we are doing. And this message that we are one resonates in the vibration of the universe, that science is studying and moving into this understanding that the universe is one. And beyond whatever that we know in the universe, that too is the oneness. It is the sacredness. It is the holiness of all that is. And we have been given the freedom to choose as we will. And we know that some of our choices have not always been the greatest. Some of the things that we choose have not always brought us that desire of the wellness and the health and the abundance and the prosperity that we want. Sometimes our choices have brought us into separation and this idea of lack and limitation and illness and discord. And yet, as we begin to study this idea of metaphysics, we begin to study this idea that our founder Ernest Holmes brought forth in the Science of Mind. As we begin to study these principles that we're trying to live, we begin to realize that if those choices that we have been making have not always brought us the greatest desire, then we're still at choice. We still have the freedom to choose again. And we get to do that if we're practicing these principles and if we're living them in the fullest expression that we're able to in our experience. I love this story of the manifestation, and the thing that Whitefeather said several times, and this is so much the key that often gets missed in the lesson. That when we desire something, that when we want to call something forth, when we want to attract something into our life, we have to visualize and know what that is, and then we have to let it go. We have to let it go. And that's the key that so many times we miss. That so often that we forget to let go. That we are so desiring something. We want something so badly, so deeply, so strongly, that we're like grabbing hold of it. And we're like wrenching it we're trying to wrench it out of life. We're trying to bring it forth, that what we're doing, we're constricting it so that we're actually killing off the life of it. Think about that for a moment. In the way that our body works, that so often, we want to be whole, perfect, and complete. We want to be healthy. We want to be vibrant. We want to be energized so much. We want things to go our way. We want things to be just the way we think they ought to be. And so we can get into that mode of trying to control it. And as we're doing that, as we're thinking this, because everything begins with the thought, then it begins to manifest into our physical well-being, and we're starting to hold on to it, and we're starting to really grab a hold of it, and we're holding on to it so tight that our heart no longer is able to pump the blood in which gives us life, and our lungs are beginning to constrict, and the oxygen is not flowing, and then we wonder why we have a heart attack and a stroke and we fall over dead. It's because we won't let go. We won't let go. Most of you know that I work in hospice, and so my daily activity is to be providing support and comfort to those individuals that have been given a terminal diagnosis, and oftentimes the medical world, the science world has said to them, at best, you've got 6 months to live. Well, just that message alone is enough to knock you out. And then, as we go along, because I've been doing this now for 3 years, and I have some patients that I had when I came on. So they were already there when I came in, and it's 3 years later, and they're still there. And I show up, and they often ask me, why am I still alive? I said, if I knew that, I would be running the world. I don't know. But what I do know, and I share with them, I say, what I do know, and I tell my congregation this every week, as long as we're here, then that divine intelligence, that God, that one life that we know, has a purpose for us. There's something more for us to do. And we may not always be in a physical state of being to where we can go out and be doing, things that we were doing when we were 20. Though sometimes I try to, and then I wake up with more aches and pains than I began with. But there's still something more to do, even if that more to do is to hold a good thought, to hold within your mind, within your consciousness, that we are all one. The theme and the message this month is about the holiness of all things right now. Not that it was holy some 2,000 years ago when somebody created this whole idea about Christmas and the whole sacredness of that, because there was sacredness going on before that. And it's not about a sacredness or holiness that's yet to come. It's about this moment right here and right now. I am grateful for this season of Christmas and all of the ways in which it is celebrated. And pick one. They're all good. The wonderful thing about it is that we get to celebrate the sacredness of the moment now. And I'm one that was suggesting that maybe we do this all year long. We should have this idea of Christmas every day. We should be celebrating the birth of consciousness in the mind of each and every individual every day. We should celebrate the sacredness and the holiness of who we are in every moment. To recognize that this is the moment, right here and right now, that we have. Yesterday is past. Tomorrow is yet to come. Where we are and where we always are is in the present moment. And in our consciousness and in our awareness, if we can realize that this is my moment, now is the time for me to be in that spiritual divine recognition of the I am. Right now, I am. That's the holiness and the sacredness that we are always talking about in this idea and this philosophy of science of mind. There's a wonderful article in the magazine this month by Reverend Dr. Petra Wellness, the senior minister at the Dallas Center for Spiritual Living. And it's about discipline. And not discipline in that way. I don't know how many of you may have had this experience, but I grew up always going to Catholic school. And we were always taught by the sisters of mercy. And I don't know where mercy was coming in, but it seemed to be more by the sisters of discipline. The idea that, you needed to be in a straight line, that you needed to pay attention, that you needed to be in order. My favorite story is the nun that I had for fourth grade. And I can't remember her name now to save my soul. But she was also there, I think, when my mother was going in fourth grade. Just to give you an idea of how long she had been around. Somebody, you know how it is that you always tell on somebody else in order to get yourself out of trouble. So somebody was talking in the restroom, and when they came out, she was standing there saying, "Who was in there talking?" Because you weren't supposed to be talking. And he said, "It was Mike. Mike was talking." So when I walked out, she grabbed me by the cheeks and she was like, "Why were you in there talking?" I'm like, this idea of discipline that you were supposed to be following the rules and the regulations, and I think they were making them up as they went along. But in this article in the Science of Mind magazine, they talk about discipline in a different way. A discipline that is about that we are learning and that we are understanding. As we go through our educational system, we begin by learning the foundations. We begin by learning, the basics. We begin by learning our alphabet, by learning that in arithmetic that 1 + 1 = 2. And as you understand the basics, as you get the foundations, you move to another level. And the levels begin to increase in conceptualizing what we are trying to understand in this idea of life. And then as you move into the university system of education, you find that there's a discipline of study. That when you begin, if you're wanting to move into mathematics, perhaps there's a specific discipline that maybe is speaking about physics, or there's a discipline that might be more about engineering, or there's a discipline. So you begin to understand the discipline is about the mastery. That if you want to master something, then you have to move into that discipline. You have to get very, very specific about what it is that you're trying to understand. Science of mind and this philosophy that we are living, the principles that we are teaching and trying to practice each and every day is a discipline. So if you're wanting to move into this place of understanding more of this idea of the sacredness and the holiness that you are, each and every one of you right here and right now, that you are a divine expression of spirit, then you have to understand, you have to master the discipline of what it means to be in this life and to be in this idea of living principle, living values, living the virtue of a good life. If you want to manifest things into your life, you have to have that discipline, understand the discipline of release and let go. Not to forget, you have to know what it is that you want, but then you have to let go of the idea of trying to control it, trying to manage it, trying to make it happen. Because it is all being created by the divine intelligence, that one spirit, that oneness that we are all a part of, that wholeness and that sacredness that we are a part of. But we have to let go of trying to control it. One of the things that I want us to begin to move in, and I'm so happy that Centers for Spiritual Living is creating this general universal theme that we're all going to be working with, 2020, spiritual vision, and that we're going to be providing spiritual journals so that you can go along each week and understand what the message and the topic is about. And many of the centers will be using the same theme, the same message title. I know that because ministers are trained this way, we're all going to give our own interpretation of it. And then you get to interpret and reinterpret it so that it fits you, so that you can take it and practice it and live it in your life. But the idea that we are living a spiritual vision, that we are creating something even more magnificent than is already here, that is the sacredness and the holiness of now. So for the Center for Spiritual Living in Menifee Valley, for our spiritual vision, I'm knowing that it's going to be more magnificent than we've already had. We're celebrating, we're completing our 45th year of being of service to this community. So what's next? What is it that you want to bring into this community? What is it that you want to bring into your life? What is it that you want for our beloved community to be in support of? And that's part of why I'm going to be doing that on the third Sunday of the month, the support group, to support your vision. All of us are going through something. Sometimes it feels wonderful. Sometimes it doesn't. But we're all going through something in each and every day. And if you're practicing the principles in each and every day, those days when it shows up and it's not as beautiful as you think it ought to be, that's when the discipline that you've been living, that you've been practicing, will get you through those days that seem to be more challenging. And you will have the greater experience by having practiced and lived the principle in each and every day when it feels really easy and grateful to do, so that when the day comes that there's a challenge, that you will already have that discipline, you will already have that habit, you will already have that experience ready there to support you and hold you up, as well as each and every one of us will support and hold ourselves together so that we can move through whatever challenge may be there. So we begin to complete this year, and we began to step into a new vision, to recognize the holiness that we are right here and right now, knowing that together we are all one in our own unique and individualized way. I celebrate you for your uniqueness. I celebrate you because you have a gift and a talent that is yours and yours alone to bring into this world. I celebrate you because you are showing up in this community to be a part of this life together. And I think together we can all celebrate that. So let's move into that vision for our year of 2020. And thank you for being here today. Love you, celebrate you. Namaste.